Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for this exclusive Creed Fragance Masterclass. This event concludes a week rich in history, heritage, fashion, and beauty. But this year also marks such a milestone for Creed Fragrance Australia and the team, as we celebrate the beginning of a 3-year collaboration with the Australian Fashion Week. Today, we're delighted to get you on a journey of discovery into the House of Creed. Leading us is Lucie Borland, our very own perfume sommelier. She brings with her, she brings with her 30 years of knowledge and passion into the Creed brand. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over the microphone to Lucie. Thank you so much all for coming, and we wish you a wonderful session.
Thank you, Cami. Welcome, everyone. This is a very exciting day for me and our partnership with Australian Fashion Week. Creed is one of the most authentic, luxurious brands in the world. And the relationship between fashion and fragrance dates back to 1760. What is incredible about the legacy of the family, there's been 7 generations, 6 being tailors, heavily involved in the fashion industry. One of the most amazing journeys that you will follow with me today is some of the history. And in 1760, the family made the first ever perfumed gloves. Now, if you go back to this era, there wasn't any really running water as such. People didn't bathe a lot. And you've got to think about also to noble people and royalty were always travelling a lot in horse and carriages and trying to disperse or ignore the smells of Europe. The scented gloves, which were founded, really the glove making and the leather industry was founded in Grasse, which is in Nice. They worked out that if they actually, after tanning leather, added perfume, they were then able to hold the gloves to their nose and they would only smell a beautiful scent. One of the aspects about the family, they were the first house to ever, the first Parisian house to enter the US market as tailors. But if you look at this history, through to the first boutique in Paris, one of the unique aspects is they always were using perfumery from the very first time they made and scented the gloves. Now, the royal connection is amazing. The family opened their first headquarters, as you can see, in 1854 in Paris. And they were very unique with the tailoring, the bespoke aspect. And today in Paris, actually, just off the Champs-Élysées, they still have the boutique. It's absolutely beautiful. And the thing that we love about the royal connection, in 1860, Queen Victoria gave them a royal warrant. And one of the parts of the journey, in 1869, you'll see that they actually became the royal tailor for Empress Eugenie. Now, she loved fashion. Empress Eugenie, in fact, had 5 outfits for the opening of the Suez Canal. And the outfit you see here is in the museum in Paris. It was made from a wool, linen, and silk mix. And they had actually weaved in a scent through the fabric. So it was light. It was actually quite free-flowing. And she changed 5 times in that day for the opening. She loved it. She loved fashion, but she also had a lot of allergies. She used orange blossom, made a fragrance was made by Creed which contained orange blossom to help disperse her allergies and her hay fever. And orange blossom today is heavily used within the production of a lot of the fragrances, and it's the best orange blossom in the world, but we'll come to that. The family were given a royal warrant in 1885, and this is actually quite hard to obtain, even today. There's 300 pages of documents that have to be obtained and regulations to actually receive this. And that really elevated the Taylor family, the previous 5 generations, Henry James Creed and then James Creed, right through to the first ever outfit for women to ride front saddle, and it was for Queen Victoria, and this is one of the historical pictures. Women previously were riding horses side saddle, so they made a beautiful outfit for her to be able to ride front saddle, and it was quite unique. It was very revolutionary at the time. They also went on to actually make a bicycle outfit for women to ride bicycles, which again, their fashion aspect was so unique. Then they actually also went through into the 1930s and they travelled extensively, hence their journey through to New York. And they had a lot of aspects about the fashion on cruising and sailing, and the family really loved seeing all of the continent. Then we come through to the 1940s, and they were actually elevated into the fashion world in the UK and again in New York. And this, you can see some of the fashion in the original picture, and all of the family members are at the back in the picture in the suits, because it was all of the men that were actually designing. In European culture, especially French culture, it was generally seen as men's business. The seamstresses, though, were a lot of the women in the royal courts of France who were assisting in the aspect of fashion. And then into the 1940s, women became involved. The legacy, where we come to the fragrance aspect, started in 1985. Oliver Creed, who is the 6th generation, he always wanted to be in perfumery, but previously they had never been commercially viable because they didn't think they would actually be able to really make the money to support a perfume industry. And Oliver had a dream, and he actually lived in Nice, and his son Erwin was born a lot later. I think it was about 1987. However, Oliver decided to start with fragrance. So commercially it was 1985, with which, if you think the family business today is 260 years old, it is quite amazing that the fashion heritage, hence why we're here today with Australian Fashion Week, is so amazing. In 2010, though, a lot of things changed, and the amazing Aventus was born. What we see with Aventus is an amazing collaboration from father to son, but Erwin had grown up learning all about scent, and today Erwin is the main sourcer of the ingredients, and again we will come to that. But if you look at Aventus, it is a giant of a fragrance. It is incredible. And we will go through the wheel as we come through this history. 2016, 5 years later, they launched the feminine version. Now, both of these scents took 5 years to create because everything is made by hand, and there was a lot of aspects to what they wanted to achieve with the blending, the maceration, the bottling. And then we come to 2022. And here in Australia, we actually plant a tree for every bottle sold. It's all about sustainability, the environment, and really protecting the planet. It's very, very important that we are really contributing to reforestation. Today, as you can see, we are launching Queen of Silk, and we've got our museum, which we're going to have a look at afterwards if you want to come on a tour with me. But today we're launching Queen of Silk. But the next part is Erwin, who sources all of the ingredients sustainably. Now, because he grew up working with his father, but also going through and building relationships with a lot of the growers. They source the best bergamot in the world. They've dealt with the farmers in Calabria for his whole lifetime. They've sourced so many beautiful tuberose from India, cedarwood from China, various different countries of the world. They pick and actually make the best raw ingredients by hand into perfume. Now today you can see the bottling process. It's all very hands-on. It's all created in a town in France called Fontainebleau, and it's an amazing process. It's not a large factory. It's completely bespoke. And we are going to try smelling some fragrances shortly. I've worked with the brand for 30 years. I'm lucky enough to have met Erwin and talked about different ingredients, but also our relationship is like a family. And one of the other aspects that I love about the house is the way that they work on the skin. And when you come through to the next part, we are going to start with the masterclass. And Michael Edwards. Michael Edwards is the world leader in perfume evaluation. And in your booklets, there is a wheel, there is some notes, you've got a pen in front of you, feel free to make notes, and at the end, we will have a brief Q&A. This is one of the pictures that we're going to show you, though, now about the process of the harvest.
Very important for us to see the harvest, because when you walk on the field, you have all the smell of the roses. And it's good also for the inspiration. That's why I still have the rose on my hand to smell, to inspire me.
That was, of course, Erwin talking about the harvest, and what I love about the Fashion Festival being here in May, it's all about the May rose. And we work very closely with Michael Edwards. Now, when I met Michael Edwards over 25 years ago, I realised my passion for fragrance was exactly what I wanted to do. Michael Edwards actually was an Englishman who started his career with Halston in London, and he decided to come to Australia, and he met an Australian woman, and he came up with a guide in 1992 to evaluate perfume. And the House of Creed works closely with the Michael Edwards fragrances of the world to create a wheel that is used universally, and we're going to use it today to take you through the fragrances. If you want to look at the wheel, though, we might just go back for 1 second, Soph. If you look at this in quadrants, fresh, floral, ambery and woody, I love to think of this wheel as being very like the wine wheel, the fashion wheel. And if you look at the quadrants, you can look at what happens in different seasons. And I love perfume matching with fashion. It's as important as your shoes, your bag. It's the little thing no one sees. It is the thing that you leave behind. It's a trace. And people remember it because in our lifetime we have over the ability to recognise over 260,000 different scents. The front part of the brain that recognises perfume or scent actually keeps growing throughout our lives. And in fact, it's the second last thing we lose before we pass away. Hearing's the last. But most people don't realise how important it is, like taste, like visually, but a lot of people actually smell with their eyes. What we're going to do today with the wheel is take you through the fragrances, and some of you may like to shut your eyes and smell, but I want you, when the cards are handed around, not to let them touch the tip of your nose. What happens from the tip of your nose to the front part of the brain, it's instant. And it's an amazing aspect to how we smell. Hold on to the cards, use them as bookmarks. You can place them in your book. I like the idea that in our lifetime, if we were to put our life into a book, we could actually put it into scents that we've worn throughout the decades. And everyone has a memory, and the memory of scent lasts a lifetime. So when you go through the cards today that we are going to be handed out, pop them into your book, and you can put them in the chapter of the book where the fragrance is, and we'll come back to it and we can try some on at the end. Now, I'm hoping all of you came this morning not wearing perfume. It's extremely difficult. It's sort of like being naked. I often say to people, look, I hope you've come nude. And I like the idea that when we put perfume on, it's a great aspect to wearing it is to put it on before you actually get dressed, and also wearing it behind your body. All of the royal, bespoke people, the aristocrats who have always worn scent, have always worn it behind their body because they wanted everyone to know where they'd been. Especially Marie Antoinette always wanted everyone to know what room she'd been in, and they could leave a trail. So today you're going to learn a few things like not patting it, it bruises it, it turns it into soup. So we're going to start with telling you about the notes. Now, if any of you here today play music, you've probably got a very good sense of smell. Perfume is created on a perfume organ. It looks like a U shape. The top notes are always the citrus notes. It's a pyramid. The citrus notes are the most volatile. They are the least likely to last once they hit the atmosphere or the air. The heart notes are always the flowers, and the base notes are the woods. And the woods bind the perfume. And the perfume knows who is the creator, talks about orchestrating a perfume. So it's very similar to playing a piano. And a lot of great perfumers are very, very good musicians. So what you will find, the top notes are quite, yes, light. The heart notes are the flowers, and the base notes are the wood. And that's what is the symphony of a fragrance. So today we're going to start with our first fragrance. Now, Millésime Impérial, completely gender neutral. Now, my team who are here today are going to hand out the cards, and I want you to take it from where the name is and run it under your nose. Now, these were sprayed around an hour ago. We're looking at Millésime Impérial because it sits in the first quadrant, the citrus. This, for me, is what I consider a holiday in a bottle. It is amazing. And I want you to start thinking about your fashion and accessorising. I do believe perfume is the ultimate accessory, and I say it all the time. I love the idea when you're buying an outfit for any occasion, it is the thing that finishes the outfit. It's the mystery. So Millésime Impérial really is a very aquatic, in a sense, fresh scent. Now, this has the Calabrian bergamot. It has the salty marine accord, which is why I call it a holiday in a bottle, because it reminds me of being on a beach. And then there is the cedarwood. I share this actually with my partner, and it's a fabulous perfume. From when it was first developed, it's become an icon in the family history of fragrance. So this is Millésime, our first fragrance. Again, We're going to walk through this wheel, and we're starting with the lighter scents, and then we're coming around. So I like the idea that when you look at the story, it sparkles, it's effervescent, it's really uplifting. And if any of you are finding that you're studying or you need to concentrate, citrus notes are really invigorating. They keep you alert. And again, it is effervescent. I love this perfume. Next, we're going to Silver Mountain Water. Silver Mountain Water is another icon and another gender-neutral perfume. It's in the fresh aquatic family. This is really about the family skiing, loving winter sports. I recently met a woman who took this when she went skiing in Japan. It is so unique, and it's got the tea note to it, but it is really, really vibrant. I love the idea too that this is something that you could wear day or night, and it's seasonal. It's not, pardon me, it's not seasonal. It's beautiful. Do you like it? Yeah, okay, great. Sorry, I'm moving a little bit quick. All of the bottles were designed based on the hip flask, and they're actually handmade. There's the Zamic lids, and one of the things too with the fragrance I think we can see is the different layers of what I've spoken about. Can you get the top, the heart and the base? So we've got the blackcurrant buds, we've got the tea note, and there is the musk. Now the musk, again, is a synthesised ingredient. Has everyone got it now? Fabulous. So when we come into the next part of the wheel, we're getting into the floral category. The floral category is probably the most purchased in the world. It's one of the scents that generally is more feminine. And one of the aspects to this fragrance is all about the travels and the seafaring. Now we're going to hand it around, and I'll slow it down a little bit because I know I'm racing, probably because I am a little bit nervous. I do spend a lot of time talking about perfume, but this is it's the second largest group I've ever spoken to, so please. But I really want you all to learn something, and I want it to be fun. I don't really want to make it seem completely like a lecture either. But I want you really to understand about our relationship with fashion, because most people know about the house from the fragrance. But again, from 1985, it was only realised by the family to even be thought of as becoming commercially successful. And the fashion is extraordinary. And if you think, 260 years of history, it is pretty wild. Hence our partnership here this week. So has everyone received a card of Love in White? Yep. So this is, again, so unique. It's so beautiful. It has the zesty aspect of orange. The heart note is a rice note, and it's really interesting. No one's ever used this in perfumery before, but it's almost like the milkiness. Can you smell the milkiness of rice? Yeah, it's gorgeous. Again, gender neutral, and it also has the musk. And the musk on the base really binds and rounds out the perfume. I love this with a white outfit because, again, I think about what colour the bottle is, what colour actually on the wheel, if you look at it in terms, as I mentioned, wine or in fashion, these aspects are always taken into consideration. And any of you who may be designers here today probably don't already know this, but that's why I love the accessorising. Okay, next we are coming to Carmina. And this is a campaign we'll show you now. We'll hand this around. Actually, that was a collaboration in the campaign for the outfit actually was designed by Michael Lesoro, and we are amazed to see our partnership with him this week as well. Some of you may have seen his parade the other night. Carmina was launched though last year, and this scent is one of the most beautiful floral. It's also got the note of black cherry, the May rose or rose de May, and also a base of amber. I love this perfume in cooler months, but I love wearing it during the day. It makes me happy. I think as the aspect of this, and what you're smelling is the dry down, and this is more likely what it's going to be like on your skin. Perfume takes about 10 minutes. The dry down is quite unique, and it works on everyone very differently. But as you can see, this scent has layers to it, and that's the orchestration, and also the hand maceration of the process. Carmina, though, for me, is something that I never tire of. I love it. It's really one of those perfumes that's in my perfume wardrobe. So when you're thinking about all the shoes you have, I always say there's never enough shoes. There's never enough perfumes either. But having a perfume wardrobe as in your accessories is really one of the things that I want you to consider from now on when you are shopping. Carmina, though, is an amazing scent. Last year when it was launched, it was a very, very popular scent, but it's also one of those perfumes that they took a number of years to create because it was very well thought out. And the artistry, the craftsmanship and the creative aspect takes time. Like any great artist, things take time. There's never any rush. Creed does not follow trends. They don't need to. And that's what really true artists do. So our next perfume we're coming to is the Queen of Silk. This is the campaign which was all based on the mood board, the idea that the Queen of Silk is about the movement of silk, the feel, the touch. Now, some of you may not know, but the silkworm, which cocoons from a mulberry tree, actually can create about 2 kilometres of silk from each worm. They spin it and they produce it. Now, silk is really, really unique. Also, too, it breathes. Like any natural fibre, and if any of you are feeling slightly overwhelmed, hopefully not because it's a big space, if you're wearing cotton, linen, silk or wool, you can actually smell your garment and it will take your nose back to base. Queen of Silk, though, for me is the Queen. Purple in the day, in royalty, aristocracy, was the most expensive dye to create. And it was first actually formulated from a snail. That's how they came up with the dye. But in the 18th, 17th through to really the 19th century, it wasn't really worn actually by anyone but noble people, royalty, and also the church. And that's why the colour is so unique. Imagery is just magnificent. And here is the top, heart and base, the pyramid. Now what you're actually getting here is the top notes of osmanthus. Now osmanthus is an amazing flower. It's quite small and it actually represents very similar to apricots. It is quite beautiful. In the heart is tuberose. Tuberose actually is known as the flower of seduction. It was used in the royal courts of Europe to keep people interested. It was seductive. In the 18th century, actually, men would always use a sprig of tuberose in their lapel to lure women in to smell the lapel because they saw it as a seductive aspect. So the tuberose in this has been pared back a little bit. I love it. But then on the base you have the cedarwood, which is just magnificent. And this is where you see the perfect orchestration of a perfume. Has everyone got it? Great, thanks. What do you think? It's amazing, isn't it? One of the aspects too to this is, again, it was a long time thought about, and I love the fact that they've really thought about the queen being the purple and being the fabric of silk. Next, we'll come to the next part of the wheel, and we're coming into 5 years after Aventus in 2010. In 2016, there was 5 years. When it was launched in 2016, it was 5 years in the making. We're looking at Aventus for her. This is all about women independently, strong, very, very confident. This is a scent, and it's a great pair with Aventus for him, but I love the idea that this is showing your independence and your strength. They thought a lot about Aventus' new version, and this for me is just so beautiful any time of the year. I think also too it works on everyone very differently because of course we all wear perfume differently. If you have olive skin, you'll wear the woodier notes more firmly on your skin. If you're fair, it is different again. A lot of people don't realise that our skin is our largest living organ. So whatever we ingest into our system comes through our skin. But that's why I do suggest when wearing perfume, you apply it before you get dressed. Think about actually putting it on the warm skin and behind your body and then getting dressed, and it will last so much longer. But these perfumes sit at around 20 to 25% with pure essential oils. And that's why we never pat them, because it does bruise them. But this is such a gorgeous scent. It's in the woody sort of section, but it's also quite fresh. You've got the pink peppercorns on the top, the peach note, and there is an ozanic, an ambroxan note, which is actually really unique on every different skin. It's a molecule, so it will work differently on everyone. Okay, next we are coming to Aventus. I probably don't need to ask, does many people in the room own Aventus? How many? Yeah, it's one of those scents that is really a very big hero in the collection, but it sits perfectly next to Aventus for her. A lot of women wear this too. It again is gender neutral, but we love the aspect that the category of female fragrances has become so unique, dating, of course, back to Queen Victoria and Empress Eugenie. Aventus has an interesting note in the heart too, which is the pineapple. It's effervescent, it's got depth, it's got sophistication. I think all of the scents actually are very sophisticated. And it is the symbol of the scissors. Aventus really has been cut differently. As you can see, it's so beautiful, and on the dry down that you're smelling, it is really, really rich. And again, the notes are here on the screen, the pink pepper with the pineapple and the ambroxan. But I do love the idea that this is any time of the day. It is one of those scents that we can all wear. Okay, we're coming to our last perfume of the presentation, which is aromatic. Now, aromatic perfumes were the first fragrances. This section of the wheel used to be in the centre, and it's really about the Linton Tweed factory in London. The family went off and spent time doing apprenticeships with tailors, and the Linton factory exists still today. And this scent that we're handing around is called Green Irish Tweed, based on the feel, the texture of tweed. It really goes again back to the history and the heritage. I think too, what you see in this perfume, it is quite grassy in its depth. Now, a lot of aromatic perfumes originally came from the herbaceous or herb garden. Any of you that might be familiar with a kitchen garden or an aromatic posy of flowers, that's what an aromatic is. And one of you know the most famous aromatics, they say that Napoleon used to drink before going into battle, was 4711. And I love the idea that, you know, to be invigorated, you put on a scent, and an aromatic scent will make you feel very alive. It will uplift you. And this perfume, again, is one of historic value, but it's also one of the fragrances that universally everyone really loves. I think too, aromatics now are one of the scents that you really can add to a beautiful woolen suit. I love this paired with a tweed suit, and that's again that fashion aspect. That brings us to the last part of our wheel. I'm deeply honoured to be here talking to you all today, and I wanted to let you know that in your bag today too, you've got your booklet, but you've also got a card which takes you to our website, and which is redeemable. But also too, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. I would love to ask any. We do have, I think, a microphone. But thank you all so much, and I just want to thank the team. Everyone has worked so tirelessly this week for us to be here today, and it's a fabulous way to finish the week with learning a little bit about fragrance. If there's something I haven't covered, feel free to ask it. I'm pretty well versed in answering any questions. So let me know if there is any questions. But I want to thank Camille, Sophie, Hannah, Lad, Sergio, Lucas, Sarah, Nick, and everyone else. I've got Todd, of course, who have come today to hear me speak. I am based in Melbourne, so I do a lot of the classes in Victoria. So it's been really exciting to be here because I haven't seen a fashion week like this ever before. And we will come for...
Lucy, I've got a question.
Yes.
There's literally 10,000 or more brands on the market from every designer brand. How many brands that are on the market manufacture themselves? So of all of the brands that you see in the department stores all over the world, how many brands have their own factory, source their own ingredients, and make their own products?
Only Creed. 4 companies in the world own all the brands. Okay? So if you buy a brand like Estee Lauder, they own Tom Ford, they own Victoria Beckham, they own Diptyque, Frederic Malle. They all come under the umbrella. 4 companies. There's L'Oreal, there's Estee Lauder, Procter & Gamble, and LVMH. They own everything. One of the aspects, so they're all manufactured in factories that just put a different bottle or a different label on. They're not artisanal. They're not made in Fontainebleau at a small factory where they're actually thinking about the ingredients. So it was a good question. One of the things is no one does this. And that's why the 200 years of history with fashion, and then from 1985, you won't ever get anything as unique that's handmade. Like going to a tailor and getting a pair of shoes made, a beautiful bag. But the thing about niche perfume and Creed is that it lasts for hours on the skin because it is handmade and they're made with the best, richest ingredients. So there's no one else. And that's what you forget when you're looking at marketing. And I say to everyone, a lot of people spend a lot of money on fashion and they wear labels. And we all can see the label. And you're paying a lot of money to wear something, to advertise it for someone. And I'm always so surprised that you're paying for something to advertise it. The thing about perfume, it is the mystery. It's the thing people remember, but without seeing it, without it being standing sort of out in front as the label you're wearing on your sleeve. And that's what I love about the brand. And the 7 generations of family, the first 6 were in tailoring. It was Oliver who was the one who thought that they would start making it as a business in 85. So it is amazing, you know, how when you do think about it, there isn't anything like it. And that's why I would love you to experience it. But tell me, does anyone have any other questions? Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your talk. It's been really insightful. My question is, you sort of mentioned on about like different skin types and how like different fragrances sit better on those different like skin types. Could you go back to that and sort of explain to us, for example, like the difference between like olive skin and then like the pale skin and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. Look, our skin is obviously made up of lots of different cells, but if you have olive skin, you've generally got more oil in your skin. So often the base notes wear better. If you're fair, often you can put on a perfume, and it does really change more actually with women. But if you have fair skin, things often will go sweet or they dissipate. And people with fair skin often say to me, oh, look, a citrus perfume doesn't last very long because there is the balance of, and it's a pH balance in the skin. One of the things is, I always say, and you might find this a little bit funny, when they make milk, they give dairy cows salt blocks to lick. And the salt is to create the pH balance in the skin, in the milk, pardon me. So often fair skin has more salt in it. The pH can be out of balance. And so that's why I always say to someone, if they come to me at an event and say, I wear perfume and it never lasts on my skin, you will find that they tend to be of a person with fair skin, more so. And I always say to them, go back to the pyramid. The citrus needs to be bound by the flower and the wood for that orchestration. But also too, it is an aspect of sometimes with maturity, your skin changes. There's very many stages in life where things change. And it's often women between a certain age of really 40 to 60 that the skin tone and the way a perfume is worn will change. But that's why I always say when you're going into perfumery, if you go into the Creed boutique, Teresa is an expert. Everyone that I work with is an expert. And you go into a boutique and you actually get expert advice, and they will be able to tell you within about 10 minutes if it's working on you or not. You know, and that's the difference between our training and what we do, because we really feel that you have to be educated, hence you're all here today. Because a lot of things you don't know. Most people buy what is marketed to them in an ad campaign, and often really it's only sold to you because it has to be, not because there's any passion, real feeling of emotion. And that's why we deal with the perfumers, we deal with the business, and one of the things is it's all about relationships. And when you go to France and you see what they do, I mean, it's funny, it was founded in England in 1760, and then they went to France, it was 1885. But one of the aspects about the brand, which is so unique, is if you're in France, they talk about Creed being French. And they'll just talk all about the French boutique and everything about it. Then you go to London, and in London they talk about it as being English. And the history, really, of the two countries has always been discussed or disagreed upon, but it's English-French. And a wonderful aspect is that with the scent of the skin, we will know whether or not it's working on you. And that's why coming to a qualified person who is a consultant who actually knows will give you the right advice. We could all try the same thing on today and it could be completely different. Yes. Yes.
Hi there. So you mentioned about having a wardrobe of perfumes.
Yes.
However, I know that most people only stick to one perfume because it identifies with them. So how are we meant to wear different perfumes but also still have the same sort of identity, strong scented identity?
I believe that if you wear the same perfume, and I meet many people that do, they can't smell it anymore. And actually a lot of women and mothers and people say, oh, that's my perfume and my kids know me by it. But that is your identity. But I'm telling you now, if you stop wearing it for a few weeks and put something else into your wardrobe, you will go back to it and you will love it and appreciate. What happens in our nose, and I mentioned this earlier, was we have the ability to recognise over about 260,000 different scents in our lifetime. It's the part of the brain that keeps growing. So if you're wearing something close to your body, sprayed around your neck, you will find that it desensitised. What happens with the nostril passage? The molecules get caught and suddenly the front part of the brain shuts down and you don't smell it anymore. And I've been on planes next to people and they've used far too much terrible, cheap duty-free. I've been in lifts and I found that you get into an elevator and someone's just put on too much perfume, they can't smell it. And I've had people say to me, oh, you know, I've worn the same thing forever, but I can't smell it, but I'm identified by it through my family, a partner. Everything in our lives, without us really knowing, is really based on what we're smelling and visually what we're seeing. So you can find what you love and find something within the wheel that will fit into that section. And what you would be able to do is find something with a similar tone, similar texture, or similar aspect. But often in this environment, when we do a masterclass, you will find that what you thought you really liked and what you identify with, whichever section it was in, actually isn't what you really like. Hence why they call me a bit of a sommelier. It's a little like wine tasting or blind testing. Hence when I mentioned shutting your eyes. I mean, tonight you'll probably go home and be either wide awake or have fabulous dreams and sleep really well, because we've used the front part of the brain that we're not used to using a lot of. But I like the idea that if you love something, continue to wear it, but you'll appreciate it so much more if you have a wardrobe. I mean, you know, I say to my husband every time I come home with a new black pair of shoes, they're different. Every time, a bag. He said, but you've got lots of them. And I said, no, but they're all different. They're different style, they're different texture. You know, I thought a lot about what I was going to wear today, and I thought a lot about the flowers. And it just happened because of Queen of Silk, I bought this dress. But, you know, I love the idea that you play a game with yourself and think about changing it up a little bit, but still keeping what you love. I really don't think we should leave anything behind, but I do think having a wardrobe means you'll appreciate it, what you love so much more.
Hi, where do you recommend we apply the fragrance on our body?
Okay, so I mentioned warm skin after we've showered. The best place to apply it on all of us is either behind the knees. It's anywhere where the blood flows close to the surface of the skin. So everyone generally will always put it on their pulse points. Most of us, and I've done it once in front of the boss, rubbed it. Pulse points, blood flows close to the surface of the skin, perfume will warm up. We don't pat it, we often do what we saw our mothers or fathers doing. So the pulse points warm it up, but heat rises. So if you put it behind your knees and you're travelling or in a vehicle, it will actually rise up on your body and you'll continue to smell it. But the best place, instead of putting it on your décollage or behind your ears, behind your neck. There's blood vessels that run up your spine and it's really close to the surface. If you put it behind you, it will wrap around you and you will leave a trail behind you. And you'll go outside and it will actually be something that you'll smell all day, every day. Actually, you get more value out of your perfume for yourself to express yourself too, because it keeps coming back. And that's why behind our neck, and again, pure essential oils won't affect our hair. It will be beautiful in your hair and you'll get the sillage. It's like an invisible scarf and you'll find that you feel really great. I mean, perfume for me is a lot to do with self-esteem and feeling confident. I haven't got any on today because I didn't want to talk about it while wearing it, because it's all about this part of the nose and this part of the brain. And when I describe wearing it, I think it's really great not to have it on. But I do feel quite exposed up here. And hence my nerves today, because you're a large group. But it is a great question. People always say, and I've been in the museum all week going, no, let me show you how to do it. Because you will find, you'll wake up with it on your pillow. My husband works and he's a shift worker and it's always left on the pillow when he leaves. And it's a beautiful way to just love it. Anyone else? Yes.
I know a lot of people actually mix and match perfume.
Yep.
Do you recommend
Look, oh, sorry. The ladies just asked if some people mix and match, and could we mix and match or put different things on to make it your own. Look, I think no, not necessarily. I think if you want to play with fragrance, like a painting, using different materials or different fragrances, it's a little bit tricky because it really ruins the artistry of the perfumer, who is an artist. I mean, it's 7 years to become a perfumer. So it actually is really changing the actual artist at hand who's made the scent for you to wear. But I don't think there's any rules. I hate telling people what they should and shouldn't do, but it's just playing around with it if you want to. But think of everything as a masterpiece, as a great piece of art that you've purchased, and wearing it how the artisan intended it to be worn. But that is, again, entirely up to you. Any other questions? Yeah. Hi.
Thank you so much. I think you did a great job today.
Thanks,
Welcome to
Darcy.
Sydney. Actually have two questions.
Yeah.
So first of all, talking about the fragrance wardrobe, what tips could you give to us in terms of picking fragrance for special occasions? And the second question is, a lot of people always complain like their fragrance don't last on their body. So what tips can you give to ensure their favorite scent linger longer on their body?
Okay, so I think using perfume layering is a great thing. I always suggest buying the accompanying products. I love showering in what I'm going to wear for the day and then putting on a body cream and then actually putting on the fragrance. It will last longer because, again, you've had a shower, your skin's warm. But also, too, as I've just mentioned, how to apply it. But I like for a special occasion, and I always say I used to work in the wedding industry for a period of time, and I used to say that you need to coordinate the flowers with the scent, with the whole look of the wedding. For me, it's all about the visual, and so if I'm going to something really special, I think mainly first about the perfume, hence this week for me was all about Queen of Silk. But then I think about what's going to match back with that perfume, and I look at the perfume in colour. There is a word for it, and I've got to remember it. So I see the colour, and I think it's called synesthesia. Yes, synesthesia. So I see the perfume in colour. So when I go and buy anything, I always think about what scent would go with it. But if it's a special occasion, I want to feel and put a perfume on for the first time and feel bold. And that's why I say to people, if anything changes significantly in your life as well, you've got to put on a new perfume. Hence why every time I travel, I put on a new scent. Yes.
Lucy, hello.
Hello.
I have a question.
Yes.
Given the fantastic outfit you're wearing today, I know you're technically naked because you have no fragrance on. What would you have chosen to wear with this one? But I do want to say, because it's the launch of Queen of Silk, you can't choose that one.
Okay, the perfect pair. I actually thought about this dress today with Carmina because it is the perfect pair. I do own both, but both colours of the fragrances are in the dress. So it was really an easy thought because I absolutely love this. Look, I started working with perfume in the 80s. Big hair, big shoulder pads. You always smelt the person before you saw them. And you always, actually, perfumes were very bold in the 80s, for anyone who remembers the 80s. Don't remember. But Carmina is the one. But I love the fact that both colours are in the dress. And that, for me, is all about coordinating it. I've always loved coordinating things together, hence the shoe wardrobe. The husband, thought that I was a millionairess when he met me, but without the money. He's worked out, though, that I've got a lot of perfumes, a lot of shoes, and a lot of clothes. But I do like the fact that every time something changes in your life, or even if you're going for a new job, changing relationships, moving house, I'll tell you now, there is perfumes that are power perfumes. I met a woman in Sydney when I started working with the company, and I've been with the company for 15 years. And I'm really so thrilled because I found my passion when I met Michael Edwards. And I met a woman who tried on a perfume one day, was in on the North Shore, and it was left on her jacket. It was a Creed. She went home. 6 months later, the perfume was still on her scarf. Amazingly enough, the business rang me and said, "What perfume 6 months ago did you spray on that woman who was at that event?" Actually, and it was an amazing event. And I remembered because I have got a little bit of a photographic memory. And that's why scent for me is so powerful. I remembered the perfume, and she went back to the store and sprayed it. She was going for a job interview. Now, she was an interior designer. So this was 15 years ago. And she said, when she walked into the meeting, and it was worth $5 million. It's a long time ago, but it was a huge contract. And the guy interviewing her, which was the CEO of the company, said, "Oh my God, what are you wearing?" And she said, "Oh, why? Just this perfume, you know, this." And he went, "Well, you've got the job." That was the end of the interview. And that is how powerful perfume is. And, you know, she's still in that job today, and she could not thank me enough because it actually got her a job. She was a mature woman who hadn't worked for a few years. And, I mean, we're talking back in 2008 when there was the GFC. So that's how powerful perfume is. I love it as I've matured because it's all for me about memories. And you can go back in time with a perfume. So that's. Did I answer the question? Yeah.
I think we have time.
Yes.
We have time for one final question, Lucy.
Yeah.
Hi, Lucy. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
I've just got a question. What is your favourite perfume of all time? And was there a time that you wore it that it sort of evokes a memory of an event in your life?
Look, I've got moments in time, but one of my favourite fragrances is Florissimo, which is a Creed perfume. And that's not just by chance, but it's something that my mother loved, and my mother's been gone a long time, and that's probably one of the reasons I love perfume so much. But she loved it, and it was all about gardenias and tuberoses. And when I smell that perfume, I always wear it around Mother's Day. When I wear that perfume, she's right in front of me. And it's a really happy memory. She loved it. So Florissimo is one of my favourites, but there's many in the wardrobe, but that is a favourite. Thank you for the question, though, and thank you for coming.